Facing the shadows begins long before you ever see them. It starts in the quiet moments when your mind whispers doubts you pretend not to hear, when the world feels still but your heart races, as if something unseen is chasing you. In Blackwater County, people used to speak of shadows that moved on their own, slipping across walls and following anyone who dared to walk alone at night. But the truth is, the shadows weren't supernatural. They were reflections of every fear the residents tried to bury. The kind of fears you carry too. The ones hidden behind a strong face, a forced smile, or the silence you keep when you're overwhelmed. Facing the shadows means acknowledging what haunts you, not because you want to, but because you must. It's easy to run, to convince yourself that if you ignore the darkness long enough, it will eventually disappear. But in Blackwater County, the more they ran, the darker the shadows became. Every unspoken fear fed them. Every doubt gave them shape. Every moment of hesitation made them stronger, just like your own fears. When you avoid them, they grow. When you pretend they don't exist, they tighten their grip. The shadows aren't there to destroy you. They're there to reveal the parts of yourself you've been too afraid to confront, because courage isn't born in the daylight. It's born in the dark, in the moments when you choose to turn around and face whatever has been chasing you. In the story of Blackwater County, the ones who survived weren't the fastest or the strongest. They were the ones who finally stopped running. They stood still, breathed deeply, and asked themselves why the shadows frightened them in the first place. You can only defeat what you fully understand. You can only rise above what you're willing to face. Your fears may seem bigger than you, but they are made of illusions shaped by past pain, failures, expectations, judgment, and moments when you lost confidence in yourself. When you look directly into the shadow, you begin to see it differently. You see that fear is just a distorted version of potential, waiting for you to transform it. You see that every shadow marks the presence of light behind you. And you see that the darkness you've been avoiding might be the very place where your strength has been hiding all along. The abandoned house within is not made of wood, bricks, or shattered windows. It is made of memories you left unresolved, dreams you walked away from, and the pieces of yourself you never had the courage to rebuild. In Blackwater County, the old Hollowbrook house stood as a symbol of everything people feared. Its broken door hanging open, its rooms filled with echoes, its walls whispering stories no one wanted to remember. But the real horror wasn't the house itself. It was what it represented. Every person who looked at it saw a part of themselves they avoided. A mistake, a regret, a chapter they wished they could erase. You have a house like that inside you too, a place you closed off because stepping inside felt too painful, too heavy, too revealing. Most people avoid their abandoned house because they think entering it will break them. They fear the dust of old failures, the cold of forgotten ambitions, and the haunting presence of what could have been. But leaving that house untouched doesn't protect you, it traps you. Every locked room inside that house holds truth you need to move forward. Every creaking floorboard is a lesson waiting to be reclaimed. The longer you ignore it, the louder it calls for you. In Blackwater County, those who avoided Hollowbrook House the longest were the ones most tormented by it. Not because it was dangerous, but because hiding from something only gives it more power. Your doubts work the same way. What you refuse to confront becomes what controls you. Stepping into the abandoned house within is not about reopening old wounds. It is about retrieving the parts of yourself you left behind. It is about walking through the hallways of your past and realizing that nothing inside can hurt you more than living in fear of it. Once you push open that metaphorical door, you begin to see that the darkness inside is just unexamined potential. The things you called failures were simply unfinished chapters. The dreams you left behind weren't lost. They were waiting for the moment you were strong enough to return for them. When you walk into that inner house, you don't go there to relive the past. You go there to reclaim your power. Because sometimes the place that scares you the most holds the very strength you've been searching for all along. The forest in Blackwater County was never silent, yet the people who lived there always described it as quiet. Not because there was no sound, but because the sounds were subtle, hidden, easy to miss if you weren't paying attention. The wind didn't simply move through the trees. It carried messages. The branches didn't just sway, they signaled warnings and invitations at the same time. Echoes lived in that forest, soft, lingering reminders of truths people ignored in their everyday lives. In your own life, you have a forest like that too, a place of inner quiet where lessons whisper instead of shout. Most people never stop long enough to listen. They fear silence because silence reveals what noise helps them hide. When you step into that symbolic forest, the first thing you notice isn't danger. It's yourself. The thoughts you pushed aside begin to surface. The emotions you buried begin to rise. The questions you avoided begin to echo. The forest becomes a mirror, reflecting your uncertainties and your unrealized strength at the same time. The people of Blackwater County always rushed through the woods, believing something was lurking behind them. But the truth was that the forest wasn't hunting them. It was trying to teach them. It whispered reminders of who they used to be before fear dimmed their courage. It whispered warnings about repeating the same mistakes. It whispered encouragement to slow down and finally face the inner noise they tried to outrun. Listening to the echoes in the forest means paying attention to the quiet guidance your life offers you every day. It is found in hesitation before a decision, in the heaviness you feel when you're not on the right path, in the small sparks of excitement that appear when you think about something you truly want. These are not random feelings. They are echoes of your deepest truths. In Blackwater County, those who ignored the forest whispers often found themselves lost, not because the path was unclear, but because they walked too fast to hear where it led. You may miss opportunities the same way. By rushing, doubting, or distracting yourself from what your instincts already know. When you finally learn to listen, the echoes start sounding like warnings and start sounding like direction. They guide you toward what matters. They steer you away from what drains you. They help you recognize the difference between fear holding you back and intuition pulling you forward. The forest echoes exist not to frighten you, but to remind you that your inner voice has always known the way, waiting for the moment you become quiet enough, brave enough, and honest enough to hear it. The cursed road in Blackwater County was a stretch of cracked pavement that twisted through the darkest part of the land, a place where travelers felt the weight of unseen eyes and the heaviness of choices they once avoided. Locals whispered that anyone who walked that road alone would confront visions of their past, not as memories but as living shadows trying to pull them backward. Yet for all its terror, the cursed road was also the only path that led out of the county. It held both fear and freedom, danger and destiny, reminding everyone that the hardest road is often the one that carries you to the life you're meant to reach. In your own journey, you have a cursed road too. The path you're afraid to take because it demands more strength, more vulnerability, more courage than the others. Most people choose the safer routes, the ones lit by familiarity and comfort, because comfort disguises itself as safety. But comfort can become a prison if you stay there too long. The cursed road represents the decisions you avoid, the career change you postpone, the dream you silence, the truth you refuse to confront, the version of yourself you know you're capable of becoming, but haven't stepped toward yet. Like the people of Blackwater County, you might stand at the edge of that road, feeling the chill of uncertainty, believing the journey will break you. Yet avoiding that road only keeps you trapped in the same place, repeating the same patterns, haunted by the same doubts. Walking the cursed road is not about enjoying the journey. It is about accepting the transformation it demands. Every difficult path tests you because you must shed the parts of yourself that no longer serve you. Fear walks beside you, whispering reasons to turn back. Doubt lingers in every step, telling you that you're not ready. But the shadows on that road cannot overpower you unless you surrender to them. Those who dared to cross it in Blackwater County didn't do it because they felt fearless. They did it because staying where they were hurt more than the risk of moving forward. And that is the same choice you must make when you face your own cursed road. The cracks in the pavement symbolize the challenges that try to stop you, yet every crack also reminds you that the ground beneath you is still holding. The darkness around you symbolizes the unknown, yet the unknown is where growth begins. The cursed road becomes less frightening with each step you take, not because it changes, but because you do. And somewhere along that path, you realize that what you feared most was never the road itself, but the possibility that you were far stronger than you ever allowed yourself to believe. The ghosts you carry are not made of mist or moonlight. They are made of memories that cling to you, failures that echo in your mind, and moments of pain that never fully settled. In Blackwater County, people believed the spirits that wandered the old graveyards and abandoned fields were remnants of the past refusing to rest. But the truth is that everyone carries ghosts of their own, even if no one else can see them. These ghosts follow you quietly, appearing when you are alone, whispering doubts when you try to rise, pulling at your confidence when you attempt something new. They are the fears shaped by past mistakes, the disappointments you never forgave yourself for, and the voices that tell you to turn back because you once stumbled. The ghosts you carry are real, but they are not there to haunt you. They are there to remind you that you have survived more than you acknowledge. People in Blackwater County spent their lives trying to outrun their ghosts, hoping distance would silence them. But ghosts don't fade when you run. They tighten their grip. Your insecurities, regrets, and old wounds behave the same way. The more you avoid them, the more power they take. They grow louder when you hesitate, stronger when you doubt, and heavier when you pretend you don't feel their presence. They show up in moments you fear failure, in times when you hesitate to trust yourself, in the instances where you convince yourself that you are still the person you were before you learned better. But ghosts are not chains. They are memories asking to be understood. To transform them, you must stop and face them, even if your voice shakes and your heart trembles. When you confront the ghosts you carry, you begin to see them differently. What once felt like a monster becomes a lesson. What once felt like a wound becomes a scar that proves you healed. What once felt like a reason to be afraid becomes evidence of strength. In Blackwater County, the ones who faced their ghosts didn't banish them. They transformed them. They learned that ghosts lose their darkness when exposed to truth. You too can turn your inner ghosts into guides, letting them show you what you've overcome instead of what you fear. The past cannot hurt you unless you allow it to define you. The ghosts you carry only haunt you when you refuse to acknowledge how far you've come since they were created. Every ghost represents a moment you survived, and every survival marks a strength you rarely give yourself credit for. When you stop running, when you look your ghosts in the eyes and accept the story behind them, they stop pulling you backward and start reminding you of the courage you didn't know you had.